Okay, I've just had a visit from a friend and fellow toy collector, Uncle He-Man, and he's brought me a figure of his that he's had since a child that he'd like me to take a look at. So today we're going to take a look at how to fix the legs on vintage He-Man Masters of the Universe figures. Here we have tri-klops, which have suffered at the hands of Skeletor by the looks of it, and had both of his legs removed. This is a pretty common problem with vintage Masters of the Universe figures. The legs are held on with a rubber sort of band that goes between the two legs. You can see the remains of it there, and this perishes over time and eventually snaps, and the legs fall off. So today I'll show you how to replace these legs. This is a fairly common thing to do, and there's a few ways of doing it. I'll show you the way I prefer. So let's take a look at what you'll need. Today again you will need an O-ring. I'm always going on about how useful these are, and this is another great example of how to fix toys using an O-ring. So in this instance you will need one that is about 3 to 3.5 centimeters across when it's not stretched, and I'll show you what you do with that in a minute. You'll also need a couple of hooks, screw-in hooks from you can buy packets of hooks and eyes. Some people use the eyes for doing this, but I prefer the hooks because it's one less job to do, and I'll show you that in a minute. And these are about a centimeter size. You can get smaller ones, but it just gets a bit awkward the smaller the size, so these 1 centimeter ones are the best thing you'll need. You'll also need screwdrivers, quite small size screwdrivers, a couple of various sort of pliers, different sizes is useful, and some string. Right, so let's get started. Okay, the first thing you need to do is to sort of remove any excess rubber that's left in the leg hole. This leg has snapped off fairly close to the bottom of the hole, so I'm not going to bother cutting any more out. Sometimes you need to get a knife and just sort of gouge out anything that's left. And what you'll need to do is take one of your hooks and screw it in through the remaining rubber and into the leg. This is fairly easy to do, although it takes quite a lot of pressure and practice, but it is straightforward. So I'm just gently twisting this in now, and it will slowly go through into the rubber. Just keep pushing and turning. At some point this gets quite hard going, and using a pair of pliers makes it easier, but for this initial stage you can just do it with your fingers. Right, okay, now I'm going to start using the pliers to do this. So grip the pliers and push and turn. You don't want to go in all the way with this at the moment, because we need to attach the rubber to this hook. Okay. So I'll leave it about there. The hook is quite firmly in place now, but there's enough space for me to do the next stage, which is we'll get the rubber O-ring and hook it on there, and then because of the legs on the He-Man figures need to be held quite tightly, what you need to do is twist it and double up the rubber like so you have twice the rubber through the hook. Now this is a slightly tricky part. You need to close the hook together so that the rubber O-ring can't get off it. So using the pliers, push the hook together. It's fairly easy to do. There we go. You can see the hook is now squeezed together and the O-ring cannot be removed. And now you need to do the final bit of tightening and just twist the hook in a little bit more so that it's a bit sort of flusher to the original hole. About so far is fine. Right, now on to the next bit. The next step is just to prepare the other leg. We don't need to screw the hook in fully, and we don't attach the rubber band to it at this stage, but it's just a good idea to get it ready into the same state that the other one is, so that you can finish off the job in one go. So again, take the hook and screw it into the hole, into the rubber, and just twist it in. Right, I've screwed that in about sort of halfway again, so there's easily enough space to hook the rubber back on, and we'll get on with the rest of it. Right, the next stage is to pass these two bits of rubber, the O-ring, through a hole that you can see just in the groin section of the He-Man figure. This is the trickiest bit of this repair job, so prepare to try this a few times before you get it right. What you'll need is a bit of string or thread, like I have here, which you hook through the rubber O-ring, like so. So you now have, I've got a fairly long piece of string here because I find this makes the job a lot easier. So I'll just get the two ends together, and now you have to pass this through the hole in here. This is a little on the tricky side, but again, with a bit of practice, you can see I can push that through. There you can see, and again, a pair of pliers comes in quite handy here, because you can then just go in and grip the two bits of thread like so and pull them through. I made that look easy this time. Normally that does take me a few goes. Right, now the next bit, the reason I've got such a long piece of string is I can now wrap this around my fingers a few times, because you have to pull the two bits of O-ring through a relatively small gap here. It is tricky, but it is possible. You just have to keep pulling. See, I'm keep pulling here, and it will go through. There we go, just like that. And now the next bit is what you need your screwdriver for, because there's a fairly small cross point screwdriver. I can put that in through here and hook the two O-rings. That's a fairly awkward job. Hang on. There you go. I now managed to hook the two O-rings so they're over the screwdriver. You can see that. This will enable me to hook the other leg into place. I'll do that now. Okay, so we're now ready to take the leg that we previously got ready with the hook in sort of partially in place, and get this hooked onto the O-rings. With the screwdriver still holding the O-rings in place, you can hook the leg hook into the O-rings like so, and then remove the screwdriver, and the hook is now holding the O-rings like that. And again, you'll need to close this hook up, so a pair of pliers, and gently squeeze the hook together like so. There you go. So the legs are now both held on. At this stage, the figure is still, the legs are still floppy, and they're also facing funny directions. What you need to do now is screw in the hooks a little bit more. The one on this final leg that I screwed in needs to be screwed in an awful lot more, because we only partially screwed in the hook at the start. So I'll just turn this a few times. Using the pliers, this is actually a fairly easy job, and you can now gauge as well where you want the hook to face to get the leg in the right direction. So I can turn this until you can see at this stage they're now pointing inwards, so that means I need to turn the hook in this leg a little bit more, and we'll get him. So just tweak that a little bit more, and that leg looks like it's in the right position. So we just need to twist this leg a little bit more. So a little bit awkward this, but let's get, if I can get my pliers in there. I can do, there we go. I can now twist this leg a little bit more, and hopefully we'll be able to get this in a position so that he can stand up. This takes a little bit of fine tuning. It's never an exact science. The more you do it, the more you'll understand how fiddly this can be, but you will be able to get there in the end. There we go, that looks about right, and hopefully this guy should at least be able to stand up on his own. Yes, there we go. So that's how you reattach legs to vintage Masters of the Universe figures. There are other guides online, but these are the sort of tricks and tips that I find work best. Thanks for watching.